Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. I have to shout out the internet for connecting Alex Porterfield and I, and that's who I'm joined by today. This is like the wildest story. It's not the wildest, but it's just cool. She reached out to me on the podcast. You know me, I'm a picky girl. And I was like, let's just hop on a Zoom. I don't know you, you don't know me, and let's just see if we're a vibe. And I have news for you people. We are definitely a vibe. She's a systems mastermind. She has a lot of expertise in the influencer space, which we'll get into. And you're very much the person who built a successful thing, and now you help teach and support others in that, which is so important. So, Alex, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. What an intro. I think that's one of my favorite intros to date. I love the internet too. Like when internet friends become actual friends and just the really badass women I've been able to connect with in the online space has just been a joy. And I'm so excited to be here and talk all of the influencer business things with you.
Yes. And for those listening, I'm a systems girly. We're going to take it to another level. So just prepare yourselves mentally, emotionally, physically. You're probably going to want to grab a notebook because this is going to be a really great tactical episode for you. But Alex, we have to start at the beginning. Give the quick, brief, wild story of how you got into what you're doing today.
So the SparkNote version, this started as a side hustle for me. I'm from Las Vegas. I moved to New York City at 18 years old to pursue my degree in acting. I thought I was going to be a TV star. I was going to be on the big screen. I joke that like there's still time for that though, so you never know where you're going to see me next.
Don't want to
And
pigeonhole.
you know what? I'm multifaceted. And when I graduated college and it was time to do the actor thing, I was like, oh God, I was not ready for this hustle. Like, you have to really be hungry for that. And so I pivoted to the business side of the industry, working with actors at a talent agency, which was such a joy. I then got poached by a celebrity tattoo shop where I was running their two shops, working with their VIP celebrity clients to get them scheduled with our world-renowned tattoo artists. I don't have any tattoos, so that was just a really fun adventure. And I was working full time and just, I was good at my jobs. I enjoyed what I did. And I definitely saw potential for growth for myself within those companies. But there was always deep down this voice of like, I'm craving more freedom in my life. I see other people working remotely. Like, what does that even mean? What does that look like? How does that actually work? And I learned about this virtual assistant thing. And so I texted my influencer friend at the time and I was like, hey, I want to be your virtual assistant. I think I'd be really good at it. And I think you could use some extra help just keeping things organized, organizing your DMs, answering your emails, et cetera, et cetera. And that was almost 3 years ago, when I was blindsided by a layoff. I was a COVID layoff in 2021, as so many people, the job market was very unstable. And although, to be honest, still right now, I feel like there's a whole shift in people trying to get jobs. But it started as a side hustle, and I had no idea that it would turn into this, amazing, fun, chaotic job that it is today. But now, 3 years in, I have a retainer service that I love selling and helping creators through. I have my 2 signature training programs, hosting my first retreat this fall in Las Vegas. So it's been a really fun journey.
I here's my I mean, I love the whole story, but here's my favorite thing within that. You just took action. You didn't create a website, a logo, brand vibes, colors. You literally were like, I can solve a problem for this person. I'm going to call and sell the thing.
Yeah. My life motto is take messy action. I would rather just start taking the steps than waiting for the perfect roadmap to follow. I think some of the most successful people, that's what they do. They're just like, okay, yep, let's go. I have an idea, let's make it happen, right? And not to say that's, you know, there are some things you probably should think through a little more clearly before just launching into, the world. But for the most part, and I'm a manifesting generator for my human design girlies. So when I'm excited about something, I'm like, yep, okay, let's go. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. Which, becoming an entrepreneur, it's so funny thinking back to my actor days when I'm like, that's too unstable for me. I don't know, where my next job would be coming from or my next paycheck or like what I'll be doing next week. Now I'm an entrepreneur where that's my daily existence of a client might not resign or, the income is gonna be going up and down in my business sometimes. And the thing, being an entrepreneur and has allowed me to just pursue my curiosities and play with the creative ideas that come to me, and it's been so fun.
Yeah. I wanna take this a lot of different ways, but one area we for sure need to talk about is your vantage point of the influencer industry. And to give people some context, maybe you are an influencer and this could be helpful for you, but also a very weird segment of my audience is tied to me in my university. And there's this whole name, image, and likeness thing. So essentially, college athletes are now overnight all influencers. They can be paid by big brands. One of our basketball players was approached by a Kim Kardashian brand we all know, and, like, it's the wild, wild west. So I actually am involved in the I would say the influencer space from a very unique perspective, but the rules apply. So I just wanna hear, what does it really take to be an influencer and monetize that, like, from your vantage point, what you've seen with your clients and how you support them?
Yeah, I love that. And yeah, the whole college athlete thing is a whole wild, like, that's a whole separate conversation that I'm just fascinated by. In terms of what it takes to really be a profitable influencer today, I think there's a lot, but my main 2 things is discipline and staying in the game, even when you don't wanna be. I think it's a longevity practice, right? So in terms of discipline, that means, whether you're working a full-time job and influencing on the side, whether you're a full-time creator and you're diversifying your income, it takes discipline to, you know, set the schedule for yourself, your creator schedule that includes creating content, nurturing brand relationships, pitching yourself to brands, sifting through incoming brand pitches, right? Engaging and connecting with your community, which is the whole basis on which you're building this foundation of a very successful business. It's your community that really helps you get to the places you want to be in your business. And like I said, taking the time to not put all your eggs in one basket with brand partnerships because those are not going to last forever. Those are not always going to be around. They're not guaranteed. But what are the ways you can spend some time each day or each week working on ways to diversify your income streams as a creator? Because there's so many different avenues you can take it. I do think the most successful creators have multiple streams of income. They're not just relying on brand partnerships. Um, and so I think, yeah, discipline and just you kinda have to practice being a little type A with your schedule. A lot of influencers I work with and, understandably so, they're creative. So they like the free flow, they like the open schedule, but then they're up till 2 in the morning editing stuff, and it's like, well, maybe if you just reworked your schedule a little bit, you wouldn't burn the midnight oil editing things that you're perfecting so specifically that you don't need to be worrying about. Like, I think also letting go of the perfectionism. I've definitely noticed, a lot of influencers I've either mentored or just talked to, they just obsess over the smallest details, which again, rightfully so. It's your brand, it's your business, you have a vision for it. But sometimes that obsession and that like perfectionist level attention is actually slowing you down. Um, and so then the other point is staying in the game. I think this industry, first of all, it's not going anywhere, so you really need to pace yourself with how much you're putting into it, how you're listening to outside voices, um, and how you're spending your time. In your mental and physical health too is of the utmost importance. But I think, it's really easy to get discouraged, and it's really easy to burn out in this industry, and I think those who can catch themselves in the moment allow themselves, some grace, take a little breather, take a break, um, and taking care of yourself, I think is so important so that you can stay in the game because, sometimes it's just how long can you keep showing up? Because when you keep showing up consistently and you keep putting in the work, you are going to reap the benefit over time. All of that effort is going to compound. And I think it's important. I remind my clients and, influencer friends all the time. You have to create for yourself as well. Like, yes, you're creating for your specific niche, for your audience, for brands, but also like what brings you joy? What do you want to share? I think we're seeing this shift in creators sharing more kind of just random things that they love or a real authentic day in their life, which I've been loving that shift in. But yeah, I think, of all the things to be a profitable influencer, being disciplined with yourself and just continuing to show up are going to be my two main things.
Do you think influencers who are successful, and success can mean a lot of different things, but treating I feel like I'm answering my own question, but do they approach what they're doing as kind of a business and they have a business mindset and processes and systems? Do you feel like that's an important part of their success or no?
It absolutely is, but
Yeah.
a lot of them think it's just a hobby that helps them bring in
Interesting.
some extra money, right?
Yeah.
Not to say there aren't some who immediately treat it like a business, right?
Right.
And that's the thing. That's the fun conversation that, when I was a systems coach inside a mastermind, these very successful women with these massive audiences with, all these ideas, all these brand partnerships, they didn't really see it as a business. They were like,
Mm.
"Oh, yeah, I mean, I like doing content and like, yeah, brands wanna work with me," but they just it's wild when you actually sit down with them and map out their different departments where they could maybe outsource, what's slowing them down, what they don't need to worry about that someone else could help them with, and you kinda start seeing the wheels turning of, like, they start to realize, "Oh, wait, wow, okay, so this is yeah, this is a business and I'm the CEO." And so that's always a really fun kind of light bulb moment to watch them have. But yeah, a lot of creators just treat it like a fun hobby, which is fine. I mean, clearly it's working for you just fine the way it is. But at some point, when you are ready to scale and grow and diversify, you do have to start treating it like a business.
I love that answer because I think a lot of business owners, they follow influencers as a consumer. They see the success they're having. Like success in this context is like how many followers, how engaged their audience is. They're then filling in the gaps to assume like this is probably how much they're making. That's amazing. How can I apply what they're doing to my business? And I think they're two different things. So, what is one thing as business owners who also maybe don't love creating content? What is one thing we can learn? I'll put myself in this camp because I don't love it. What can we learn from influencers and apply that to how we approach content for social media as a business owner?
I love that because I think so. My students in my programs, they're becoming virtual assistants. They're ready to like help creators, but they're nervous to put themselves out there and market themselves and their business and their services. And which I get. It's always nerve-wracking at first to start showing up on the internet. But a little exercise I'll give my students sometimes to get them out of their head and out of their comfort zone and just to have a little bit more fun. I'm like, just pretend to be an influencer. Like, how would an influencer show up and talk about their day and what they're up to and what they're working on? And I think we can really learn a lot from influencers because they are relentless in their content. They are content machines, but that is especially, freelancers, business owners, online service providers. We are the salesperson for our business. We are the marketing team, we're the operations team, we're the CEO, we're the accountant, right? Like there are so many hats we're wearing. And I think we can absolutely take so many notes from creators and influencers and be like, you know what? I like how she did that. That was very relatable. How can I, make my own version of that? Or how can I take someone through my day in the life as a virtual assistant or a social media manager? And that is really, content is everything. Unfortunately, right? Like you have to be good at what you do and you have to like know what you're doing. But if you're not telling people who you are, what you do, and how you can help them, you're not going to have clients. People aren't going to know that they have you, that you can help them. So, um, yeah, I think a lot can be learned by watching some of our favorite influencers and how they just continually show up and bring us into their worlds.
Yeah. And what you were saying earlier about discipline and staying in the game, I think the same applies for the quantity of the content you're putting out there. And what I see happen a lot is business owners will obsess about a trend or the algorithm or one specific thing, and they obsess about solving that one time thing. It doesn't work or doesn't perform well, whatever well means in the business world. And then they're like, well, shoot, that wasn't worth it. And then they don't post for 3 weeks. And if you follow influencers, consistency is king. They relentless. I love that word. And I
Yeah.
think that's the differentiator is just the big picture and the consistency outweighs that one time trend that may have worked that one time.
Yeah, a few maybe this was a month or 2 ago, I was talking to someone and she's like, "Yeah, Alex, I'm just, it's exhausting, I'm feeling discouraged. I haven't had anyone book any discovery calls." And I'm like, "Okay, let me go take a look." So I go to her term. Has not posted in 4 weeks, nothing on her stories, and I'm back in the DMs with her and I'm like, "Okay, so just so I'm clear, you announced this new service, talked about it once, and you're surprised that no one's booked discovery calls. Am I correct there?" And she's like, "Yeah, okay, now I see what you mean. Okay, thank you for thank you for lighting the fire under me right now." So, it's like people aren't just gonna, like, magically slide into your DMs and say, "Take my money, I want you to work for," like, you have to be showing up.
Agree. Agree so much. I want to turn the focus back on you and your business. I needed the influencer expertise, so thank you. I also want to talk about you and your business and how you've shaped it. So, starting in the VA space, kind of specializing in the influencer niche. I'm a niche girl, I'm just going to say it. How have you grown with that service offering and how did you make decisions on where to take it next?
Oh, that's a really good question. My business, my services, my offerings are constantly evolving and changing based on where I'm at energetically, what I'm excited about, where I feel there's like a need in the industry. Um, and I think that's a really important thing to note is like just because I launch something doesn't mean it's going to be around forever. Like I am constantly just updating and evolving just myself and my business services. But I will say, I think in the early days, and this is, I teach my students this, like just start with your main retainer service.
Yeah,
Get booked out there because then you're going to have that recurring income that's going to help you feel secure. Because when you're constantly reaching for the next paycheck, that's stressful. So get your main service booked out so you know, okay, I have 2 to 3 clients, I have money coming in. Now, let me figure out what are some other things I'm hearing my ideal clients say they're struggling with. Great. How can I make a bite-sized version of my main service to maybe offer that to people who aren't ready for this, higher ticket service, but they could use this low to mid ticket option that I have. And so that's kind of how I built out my offers. Um, I've launched offers and services, and after a few months, I'm like, you know what? Actually, I don't think I enjoy doing this. And so I've closed it down. So I'm always kind of tuned into myself and what I want to be doing and what I'm really good at. And then over time, that turned into I was booked out and I couldn't take on more clients, but then I also didn't really know anyone who did what I did and had the influencer knowledge that I had. So I could refer some people, but I couldn't refer everyone. And I was like, "Ah, I wish I could just clone myself so that I had all these amazing, women with knowledge about the influencer industry to these influencers." And then that was kind of my light bulb moment of, "Oh my God, that's what I need to do. I need to teach women what I do and how I do it so that I can confidently refer these women to these influencers I talk to." And that's kind of the catalyst of my, educational programs and courses that I've created over the last couple of years. But it's always come from where is there a gap in the industry or where am I feeling called to energetically? Because like I said, manifesting generator, if I'm not excited and keyed into something and just like it's lighting me up, yes, I can do it, but it's just not gonna be my best work. And I wanna be like fully engaged in what I'm doing, which um is a perk of entrepreneurship. I get to call the shots and make those decisions.
it's so smart. And the how of switching from producer, I would say, to educator was so important for those listening. She did not go chase a shiny object or passive income. Like your motivation for doing it was the right reasons. And I imagine it's probably paid off. And I'm curious, as today stands, if you were to split your time in percentages, what percentage is you supporting your clients and what percentage is you kind of coaching and pouring into the next generation?
That's a really good question. Let me think. So I track my time because I'm a nerd and I like to see where like I am spending my time. I'd say I'm probably 30% in my clients' businesses, 70% in my business, which includes supporting my students, creating resources, creating content, so on and so forth. But which is what, I used to be 100% in my clients' businesses. And to know I've, now really spend a lot of time in my own thing that I've built is really cool to kind of reflect on. I'm almost three years into, I guess by the time this comes out, I will have been 3 years in business, which is so amazing. And I used to dream of the day that I could spend more time in my own creations and my ideas and connect with my community. And I think I've found a really awesome kind of ratio of client work versus my stuff, which is really fun.
I think that's so important. And again, I just see so many people jump into things like that out of desperation or needing to pay the bills, and that is not the right reason to monetize your brain.
Also, passive is never passive. Like if I love when people are like, "Oh, I'm just gonna launch a course and sell it, and that'll be, extra money."
Evergreen with the funnel and
Evergreen. Girl, my shit is evergreen, and I have never been more busy creating content for my evergreen, quote unquote passive. Like, no, there's so much work that goes into, yeah, it's not passive. So anyone who's thinking about launching a course or a program, just sit on it for a bit, think about it, and then make the decision. It's so much work, but I love it. I would do it again, but it's passive is never passive.
preach. Yes, mic drop done. If you're comfortable, I'd love to talk some numbers. You don't have to give exact, but just some ranges if you're cool with it. Cause I
Yeah.
think, okay, cool. I want to know in the very beginning, you get that first client. How long did it take you to get to that point month wise to be like, okay, bills are paid?
Yeah, I love that. And I think it is really important to
Yes.
share that just to show people, what is possible. So when I got laid off, I had 2 months severance that my company gave me. So I'm so grateful for that. I said, "Okay, I'm making money for the next 2 months." Meaning I have 2 months to make this whole virtual assistant thing work. I had one client, I need to be booked out in the next 8 weeks. Within 6 weeks, I was booked out with 3 clients. So call it, if my side hustle started at 500 a month, within 6 weeks of making the decision to become a virtual assistant and land more clients, I was at a $3,500 a month, I wanna say, and with like, by month 4 or 5 of being a virtual assistant, I was hitting, like, 5 and 6K months, which was the most money I had ever made up until that point, and I wasn't even working 40 hours a week, which is also, I'm gonna note that this, this career path, you set your own rates and your own hours. I knew I don't wanna work 40 hours a week anymore. I wanna work 20 to 30 and still make good money, but I wanna live my life. I wanna do things. I wanna spend more time with my family. I wanna travel. And by, yeah, I 6 grand a month, I was like, "Oh my god, I'm a rich bitch." I was like, "Oh, wow, wow." And obviously that's, revenue. That's before taxes, before expenses. So that's not what was in my pocket. But the fact that I was able to do that, I was like, "Oh, okay. So this is a thing. This okay, let's keep doing this. Let's keep doing this." So that was in my very early days of just like that's I think even before I niched down to support influencers, but there were women who needed help and I was there to help them. So, um, yeah.
And maybe I'm wrong, but a very low cost business. Your cost is your time
Yep.
and your brain, and executing on tasks. So that's something to note with that dollar amount. B, it doesn't sound like you hired out or outsourced, even though you kind of hit that pretty amazing.
Oh, no. I made my first hire way like maybe a year and a half, 2 years into business. Um, I had like an intern. Actually, I did have a paid intern. I was like, "Who am I? Look at me with a little intern." But, because I needed, like, blog help and, like, content help, or I forget what it was, but, um, yeah, I just right now I have 2 assistants, and they help me in different aspects of the business for maybe 3 hours a week each. But they they help me free up my time and energy so that I can focus on my things that I need to be doing. But yeah, no, thinking back to Alex in New York, just got laid off, hitting a 6K month all of a sudden. Um, and then, as my business has grown and educational programs have come in, and I've, pivoted to an online business manager. And, some months, I remember my first 12K month, I was like, oh my God. I was like, is this wow. I've heard of people doing this, but I never I knew I'd be here, but like, wow, I just had a 12K month. That was wild. And but again, entrepreneurship up and down. Not every month is a 12K month, but it's moments like that where I'm like, this is possible. Like,
Yeah.
it's absolutely possible. I'm not special, you guys. I'm just resourceful, and I make shit happen. Like, I, I'm not special. I've just decided that that I was gonna go for it, and I didn't look back, and I got scrappy, and I just made it work.
I'm gonna add to that, the amount of people in Alex's space who reach out to be on this podcast, I get probably 1 or 2 DMs or emails a day. I'm a VA, I'm in the systems space, like, not specifically influencer niche, but a lot of similar skill sets. I have ten guest spots a year, and I literally carved out room for Alex because of her authenticity. I truly, and so I just want to show that this works and it's important. And I think just too many of us, we have that one good month and then we start to act like we're an empire. We start to outsource and we make decisions that are going to ultimately tank your business. I see it happen so often. So I
Yeah.
appreciate your transparency. I'm the person, this is me. I had a 6-figure salon. I launched a course on Kajabi, which we all know is not cheap, and nobody bought it. So my story is different than Alex's, but it took a while to rebuild my audience. I kept my same hair Instagram. Don't be like me. Don't do that. Just start fresh. My ego didn't want to start over. My ego was like, got my 500 followers. I don't want to start over. And all that to say, if I had just picked up the phone and said, hey, Alex, I know you're in business. This is what you do. This is what I can help you with. Like that would have short circuited 6 months of just struggle top ramen.
And I
No
think
going out, no nails done, no nothing.
I think ego is such an important topic here because that's so normal, right? We are our toughest critic. And this is something I've been working on recently, and just kind of self-reflecting on where I'm at, how I'm feeling. What is it that my ego is driving, and what actually is it what I want to do? And I remember back in the early days, and I do think this is, an element of the scrappiness. I was hungry for it. I was like hell bent on making it work after that layoff.
Mhm.
But I I emailed my network. I said, "Hey, I'm starting a virtual assistant business. I had so much fun working with you at insert wherever I met this person. If you know anyone who needs, some help, I'd be so grateful for a connection." I was posting in Facebook groups. I was answering people's questions, giving suggestions. I was hustling. I
Y'all,
was
she wasn't running ads to a funnel that she built out.
uh-uh. I was hustling. But even so, I was at the chiropractor, and I told the chiropractor, "Yeah, I just got laid off," but, like, he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." I was like, "No, it's all good. Like, I'm gonna start my virtual assistant business." And he's like, "Wait, what is that? Tell me more." He sent me 3 referrals within the next 24 hours, one of which is my longest term client. For 3 years, we've been working together now because we had the same chiropractor. You just never know. Like, I was talking about this business that wasn't even technically a business yet. I was just praying and, hoping, "Jesus, take the wheel, make this into a business for me." But I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm gonna treat this like the business that I know it's gonna be. I'm gonna put myself out there." I'm a chat Kathy, so I'm just yapping away whenever I can about what I'm working on and what I do. But it's I forget what we were even talking about. Went on a tangent.
No, I think just there's something unique in that first 6 months, a year of business. You just have to prove that the thing is a thing.
Mm.
And I'm really glad we talked through that. I think we supported the person listening who is potentially in that camp, but we're not done yet. That's not where your story ends. I want to talk about that moment you hit your capacity. Like, this is how I'm currently built out. This is my current process. When's that moment you were like, that's not sustainable. I got to make some changes?
Yeah, so I think it was pretty early on when I had, like, 4 or 5 clients, and again, I'm not working 40 hours, but I was, like, creatively, just energetically, I was like, "Oh, okay, that's a lot of jumping back and forth between clients." Um, and so I went from 5 back down to, like, 3. 3 was, like, my sweet spot, um, just retainer-wise, because that would still allow me outside time to work on my business and do things that brought me joy. But yeah, probably at like the 6-month mark, I was like, oh, okay. I think three is my sweet spot. And I kind of made those internal changes. And um right now I have 2 clients. Oh, I'm always open to a third coming in. So um yeah. But I think it just everyone's different. It's gonna be, well, what does your ideal day look like? Because maybe you wanna work a, you know, 8-hour day, but maybe she wants to work a 4-hour day. Okay, well, let's reverse engineer that and figure out how much you need to charge and how many clients you need to hit that, that goal of yours. And that's the, custom approach I take with my students. I say, "Hey, your dream week is gonna look different than mine, it's gonna look different from Kelsey's, and that's okay, that's normal. I wanna know what your dream scenario looks like so I can help you get there."
Yeah. But here's where I'm different than you. My business, not my business specifically, but business as a whole thing is my hobby. Like, I
Mm.
spent a lot of years feeling kind of guilty for that, but I love business and I love bringing people together, not in like a workaholic type of way, but if I have downtime and I'm researching something, if I'm having just like random conversation out to dinner with a friend or my husband, we're talking about business or finance, and finance specifically in business. And I've learned to just be okay with like, I genuinely enjoy it. And so
Oh,
I've
yeah.
structured my business and my time to support that. And that's,
Yeah.
I loved your answer because it's so true. You have to know, what do you want your life to look like? And then how much do you have to make and how can we work backwards to support that? The math really can be that simple and people try to overcomplicate the heck out of it.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I am constantly thinking about my business. Like, I love what I do so much, and I think this is just an entrepreneurial thing. Your brain never shuts off, like,
Yeah.
and that's part of the exhaustion involved is you can't just clock in and clock out like you're going to the office and then coming home to live your life. When you run your own business, you are constantly circulate, "Okay, oh, this idea, I need to write that down. Oh, okay, what about if I did this launch that way? Oh, I need an email sequence for this," or, "Okay, oh, here's a content idea." Like I'll be like at the spa trying to relax and I'm in the steam room and I'm like, "Oh, idea. Gotta go write that down before I forget it." Like,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't have it any other way. I love it. And there are moments where I'm like, this is exhausting. Why did I decide to do this? I kind of wish, and like I romanticize the corporate life, the 9 to 5 stability, but then like I was talking about at the opening of this episode. Right now, I don't know if you're seeing all those TikToks. Everyone is looking for a corporate, looking for a job and it's impossible.
Yeah.
People have been
Yes.
unemployed for months.
Yeah.
Like 6 months, some people have been unemployed. Like the job market is just insane right now.
Right.
And so I remind myself, okay, cool. So it's gonna be insane and exhausting no matter which side I choose to be on.
Yeah.
So right now, anyways, I'll continue doing what I'm doing. But also giving right, and that's ego, right? Giving myself permission to change my mind someday. If for some reason this is no longer fulfilling me, then okay, then we'll figure that out when we get there. But um right now, I'm just gonna lean into the insanity of entrepreneurship.
Let's shed a little light on the course coaching side of things. So, what was it like launching that for the first time, and how has that evolved versus where you sit today? Oh my gosh, you're laughing. I can't wait.
I've laughed.
Okay.
I'm so proud of myself. Like I'm so proud of myself for doing it. It's just so funny to I was like, hosting my first live webinar. I was sweating. I was like gulping down water like it was my job. I was so nervous, but now I can show up anywhere on a Zoom, in a call, a podcast interview. And I'm so excited to just share my knowledge and experience. But had I not done that first scary thing of hosting my first webinar in front of a room of people I've never met, like we have to do the scary things to get out of our comfort zones because that's where we really grow. But looking back, it's just like, wow, I did it. Like I really just made a course. I mapped out, what people need to know, why they need to know it, how to do it, like what's the next step, how to, and I think it's the relationship I have with my students, I think is my favorite part. Um, whether they're in my virtual assistant training program or my online business manager training program, to watch my students like see where they are in day one and then where they are in graduation day. It's like a completely different woman in front of me. And I think that's just the most fulfilling part of being a coach is like actually seeing your students see the results that you knew they were going to get all along and then being like, wow, I did it.
It's the best feeling. I totally agree with that. How did that first launch go? I mean, did you get like hundreds
That
of
was
people
my
sign
most
up?
successful launch
Oh
to
my
date.
gosh.
The first
Okay. Why do you think that was? Like, what do you think it was?
girl, I don't know. I don't know, but I had 11 students in that first ever group training program launch, and I was floored.
Wow.
I don't know. I mean, it was definitely some of my most engaged followers who I just had built relationships with over time who knew they wanted to learn from me. I think they were just ready to go. They were like, I trust Alex. I'm ready to learn from her. I don't know why it was the most successful, I but had I not, it's like, what if I never made the course? What if I helped over probably more than 50 women now in my programs. I wouldn't have impacted them if I hadn't just decided to take the leap and try this thing and create these resources. So I've had students leave their full-time jobs because they were able to just do their virtual assistant business as their main focus because they replaced their corporate income. Like it's so wild to think about like, oh, I did that and it works. It's amazing.
I think that's awesome. And to me, that just means you put off launching long enough to where that momentum and that interest, your people were telling you what they wanted and they were reaffirming it, and you were establishing yourself as a subject matter expert. These
Even
are
though I didn't
all
like one, but I was like,
these are
I have
sharing it.
experience and I can share it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that way. I'm launching something later this year. As this episode comes out, it will already be out. So maybe I'll just say it out loud. I'm launching a retreat mastermind combination for sure. And I have a little PTSD because my course launch, my very, very first one, I still go back to little baby business Kelsey when I started. And I was like, hey, I launched a course. My website's live today. Go buy it.
Surprise.
Why isn't anyone buying it? I don't get it. I was your client that you were talking about earlier. And that's why I think it's important to share those wins and those successes. I haven't launched a new thing in probably just under a year at all in my business, to the point where people are begging me. Like I get stopped on the street. I have people in the DMs
On the
constantly.
street. Oh, she's a local celebrity, y'all.
I run an in-person group, so
Oh my God. I want to be stopped in the street. I'm manifesting that for me.
I'm manifesting that. My best was on a plane. That was one time, like recently flying to California, and then a second time was at a different airport in another
Wait,
state.
that's wild.
Excuse me, this is the coolest thing.
I love that.
But it's a little. I'm like, calm down, calm down. But all that to say, I know this launch will be different because of those things I just mentioned. And Alex is, I mean, that's why. And so no one realizes how important it is to build that communication and that foundation to then launch things from. That's the point I'm trying to make here is like, I think people try to fast circuit that. And sometimes the best thing you can do is consistently post shit. Like really just show up, talk about it, lay the groundwork. And then when you are ready to build a thing and put it out there, talk about it a lot and you'll probably have more success.
Early. You just
Yeah.
have to talk about it every day. It's going to be exhausting and you're going to feel like a broken record, but that means you're doing it right.
Perfect. Yes. So much yes. And you still talk about your thing all the time, don't you?
I'm trying to. It's yeah, between my retainer service, my virtual assistant course, my online business manager course, my digital membership for entrepreneurs. Like I'm like, oh, and my retreat. I'm like, okay, that's 5 things. And I need to figure out, the ratio in which to talk about them. But I need to get back on like really more forwardly promoting it and selling it. I feel like I've been doing just a lot of more educational stuff right now, which is fine. But yeah, it takes practice. You have to like not be afraid to actually say, you know, here's the thing. This is what it is, and here's how it's going to help you. And it's linked in my bio. Like it's just a practice of, yeah, okay, every day somehow.
And to bring it full circle, you know who has that figured out? Influencers.
They're so good. Exactly. Just pretend to be an influencer, y'all, just for the day. Happens.
Yeah, literally. You know what brand? I mean, I don't know if you feel this way. You know what brand I'm seeing everywhere right now is First Form. Maybe
Oh, I
it's with the
haven't seen any
content
of them.
coming to me. I
They
don't
get
know why, but I'm seeing everyone, they're wearing the shirts. They're not even talking about it's everywhere. And I used to be connected to them, so I've known about them, but there's like a resurgence of it. They're not afraid to talk about that or AG1. That's a great one. I feel like every
oh yeah,
major
that shit's
celebrity is
yeah.
okay. That's a great, like Sean Johnson's talking about it constantly. She's relentless. And so I think in conclusion, if you don't take anything away from this episode besides this one piece of advice, it's be relentless in how you show up and what you share and why. And
Yep.
Alex is proof that it works, and she knows about it from multiple vantage points, so listen to her.
I love it. Yeah, it's a practice. It takes time.
Yeah, I respect it. Thanks for sharing so much today. I knew today would be good, but I didn't know I would be so, like, hyped. I'm, like, shaking in a good way. I'm just so hyped up. Is there anything that we missed, last parting words or wisdom you wanna embark on the people before we wrap it up here?
Mm. I just want to say to anyone who is maybe feeling stuck or nervous to really just own the vision they have for their life, that it's absolutely possible for you. You just have to decide to do it. It's it's you, it's your life. Make shit happen for you, right? Like you deserve the life you are dreaming of. And if you take anything away from this episode, it's that if you want something bad enough and you're hungry enough for it and you put in the time and you're disciplined with yourself, you will make shit happen. Um, and I've been there. I know Kelsey, you've been there, and we will be there again. Like it's
Yeah.
also, we haven't reached the top of the mountain. We're not just chilling. Like we have our valleys, we have those plateaus of like, I feel stuck again. And I think it's a practice of, okay, well, how do I get unstuck? How can I release some of this pressure I'm putting on myself? And so for anyone in that right now, we're here and we've been there and you're not alone in that. So um you deserve everything that you want to create in your life.
Agree so much. And if you need extra support, I have a group called Get Shit Done Club. It's free, and that's literally what it's all about. So come hang out in there. But I know Alex also has tons of resources and just cool stuff happening in her business. So please go follow her. Where's the best place for people to do that?
Yeah, come say hi on Instagram at alexporterfield.biz. I have free resources and trainings. Also, just like DM me, say hi, and that you listen to the episodes so we can become best friends.
Yes, you will. My like temperature check is, can I voice note this person? And she passed that. Because I feel like you learn a lot from tone of voice and how people talk. And like
Yeah, I love it.
I have a lot of automations. I have a lot of support. The one thing I will not give up is the DMs because magic happens in there.
I love the DMs. My favorite to hang.
Honestly, yeah, facts. So thank you so much for listening. Thanks for hanging out with Alex and I. Please go support and follow her business too. And I just really hope you got some permission to get the right shit done in your business today.